Okay, so hi everyone. My name is David. I spoke yesterday about how to build successful NFT projects. And today I will be speaking about how we convinced basically Web 2 brands and their non-native customers to adopt Web 3. So to start, I just want to give you a little bit of a background about what we do at Webmint, because I think it'll make more sense as to how we work with brands. So we effectively build software that is optimized for a brand's user journey for their customers. So effectively, you can see on the right-hand side, this is the flow of our software, whereby if you're a brand, you can create membership passes or e-tickets in the form of NFTs. You can then create drag and drop sales pages, and then you can access utility on top of that. So creating tokens as part of a rewards program, or creating like a drag and drop e-commerce platform or other token gated experiences. So this is the only time I'm really going to pitch my company. But other than that, I'm actually going to be talking about how we actually convince brands. But to do that, I think it's important to sort of lay out the land and talk about the market and why now is actually the best time for brands to experiment with NFTs. So effectively, on the right-hand side, you'll see some pretty interesting stats by a pretty great company called McKinsey. I'm kidding, they're pieces of shit, but they do have really good, they do really good research. But probably to nobody's surprise, in 2021-ish, there was a huge spike in e-commerce because everyone was stuck inside due to COVID, and so brands were really focused on their digital strategy. But now we are in a recession, so it's not just cold for us crypto people, it's cold for everybody, including brands. The fashion market is going to struggle a lot in 2023. Negative 2 to 3% growth is what is anticipated. And costs are rising as well. I think a cotton t-shirt, for example, costs, I think 45% more this year than it did last year. And cashmere, for those of you who have made it in the NFT space, cashmere costs 30% more this year. So basically, what we're seeing are rising costs. A lot of people also said that COVID would be the death of retail. We're all stuck at home, so we're never going to go shopping in a store again. But that's simply false. The number of stores that have opened in the US this year outpaced the number of stores that have closed, meaning there are more stores being open daily. And I think that's because brands understand that stores are not just another source of revenue, but it's actually a space to solidify brand loyalty and to create a customer experience. We all have that moment where we go into a shop and we try on a t-shirt, we look in the mirror and we feel great. And that is an experience that can't be replaced by me looking on the internet on someone else wearing a t-shirt I want, especially because that person is probably more attractive than I am. And the other problem is that digital marketing does not work anymore. It's very, very expensive with regulations such as the GDPR, with Apple's updates allowing you to opt out of user tracking, with the outlaw of third-party cookies. Targeted ads that are limited in duration just do not work the same way they do. And basically now brands need to target experiences for their customers, especially now we have less money, we're spending less, so we're more conscientious about how we spend. So basically the conclusion to draw from some of the data is customer loyalty is more important than ever, and customers want experiences, not ads just shoved down their throat. And for those reasons, it's a great time for brands to really double down on a Web3 strategy because it provides, number one, an alternative source of revenue. It's a way for them to reaffirm their brand identity through building community and shared experience. And it also increases their digital presence at a lower cost to target a much more digital native generation. And you don't need me to convince you. The beauty of the blockchain is that all transactions, or most of them, are public, so you can actually see how much Nike, Dolce & Gabbana, Gucci have made, and Nike have made a very humble $185 million from their NFTs so far. So it's really big brands understand the power of this technology and are already taking advantage, and that's been great for us because it's made a lot of smaller brands really think about how they can enter Web3. So basically, the question is, how did we, as a small software company, convince brands to go into NFTs? And on the right-hand side are common things that we hear from all brands. Some of them I've actually copy and pasted from my Discord and Telegram chats. So the first one is, well, we aren't Nike or Gucci. We don't have $60,000, $80,000 to actually try NFT strategies. The second one is my favorite. We hate NFTs. I'll go into that in a second. The third one is, how are NFTs better than my current software system? And the fourth thing we hear is something that we can all probably draw on in life, which is we're afraid of failure. And in NFTs, if you fail, it could really damage your brand loyalty because you could be seen as just some money-hungry brand cashing in on a new trend, which is not great. So on the first one, we are not Nike. On the right-hand side, I've given you a sample sort of project timeline for the creation of an NFT. This is actually the timeline we used to use when we were more of an agency model. So you'll see that it takes up to 4 developers to design a robust NFT that actually works and can be minted properly. We typically charge $20,000 to $40,000 for this, and it usually takes about 5 to 6 weeks at a 20% commission. The problem is, whenever there's new technology, big brands with a lot of money are able to cash in on this and experiment. The problem is 99% of brands have less than 1,000 employees and less than 10 million in annual revenue. So they don't have space to play in this space. And there's also this constant development that's required. It's not just like you pay someone to create an NFT or an AI or whatever new tech is. You need to constantly update it to adapt to changing consumer trends. So basically our motto at Webmint is fuck pay to play. Because we've created an affordable, no-code, easy-to-use software platform for non-technical people. So your marketing team can just easily go in and create a new campaign, upload new items that can be discounted. So the next question is, okay, you guys are affordable, but I don't know what the next slide should be. Oh, yeah, you guys are affordable, but we hate NFTs. And to break down why they hate NFTs, so here's some of the problems. I'm actually really curious, who in this audience has been called a crypto bro before? Put your hand up. I'm sure there's people. No one? Wow, okay. Maybe because you're all friends with other crypto bros, so you don't get called that. It's like nerds don't call each other nerds, right? But I've definitely been called that many times in my life. And the fundamental problem is looking around at this conference, looking at the space in general, it's predominantly male, which is totally fine. But if you're a fashion brand, your gender divide is much more equal, and some brands, especially some that we work with, are targeted towards women only. And so when you have language and an audience that's predominantly male, entering the space can be very exclusionary. The other things that we hear are, my customer base doesn't know about NFTs. I mean, everyone here understands how to purchase an NFT, how to buy crypto, how to make transactions, but majority of people have no idea what a wallet is, what a seed phrase is, or how to even get crypto. And so our solution is basically twofold. The first is we change the terminology when we work with brands. So we don't call them NFTs anymore, we just call them digital memberships. This strategy has worked very well. For example, I think Reddit did something very similar to sell their NFTs. And we don't use any of that tech-centric language that surrounds the industry. So things like mint now or rugging or seed phrase or connect wallet. We also focus on optimizing the onboarding experience for non-digital natives. So what we do is we allow brands to create drag and drop Web3 integrated sales page builders. So if anyone has used Shopify, we have the Web3 version of that. We've enabled social login and fiat purchasing. So you're able to buy an NFT by logging in with your Gmail, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then using your credit card to actually purchase. For those of you who wonder how it works, is in the back end, we create what's called a custodial wallet. So we then hold the NFT, because the problem is when you buy an NFT, there has to be a transaction recorded on the blockchain. So when someone buys with their credit card, we create a wallet on their behalf and put the NFT there, and they get sent a link to access that NFT. But from the perspective of a user, it's simply logging into a platform that holds a digital membership. So in doing so, we've kind of created an experience of purchasing innovative digital memberships that give you access to future experiences, rewards, and community participation. So users don't necessarily know that they're buying NFTs, even though they are. And these are some of the NFTs that we have created. And as you can see, membership pass, and it just looks like this cool moving GIF that you get to own that gives you access to things. The other question we get is, how are NFTs better than what I currently have? I'll go over this slide very quickly because I think most people understand the power of Web3. But basically, 90% of brands have some sort of loyalty rewards program. And the majority of those started in the last 2 years. So brands understand the importance of digitalization and the importance of monetizing your customers. The problem with those with software is it's in the software's best interests to keep you on board. They don't, because that's how they generate revenue. So if you want a new feature, if your software provider doesn't offer that, you have two options. Number one, complain to their customer support team. For anyone who's ever worked in software, you know that will never work. And number two, move to a different software provider. The problem when you move to a different software provider is it's very difficult because you need to build some sort of middleware to transport all your data from system A to system B because your original software provider does not want you to leave their platform because without you, they're generating less revenue. NFTs obviously are plugged into public neutral infrastructure, meaning that anything on the blockchain can be easily imported into multiple applications built on the same blockchain. So the way we position ourselves to brands is you basically creating data that you control and own and that you can easily slot into different software solutions if you don't like our solution. And the last one is I'm afraid of failure. So yesterday I spoke about how to grow a successful NFT project, and I think a lot of the principles for NFT projects is the same for growing a brand because at the heart of it is just about growing community and fostering identity. So basically, how to fail. If you don't have a defined audience and you collaborate with everyone, you're most likely going to fail, whether you're a brand or an NFT project. So for example, if you are a shoe store targeted for females and you decide to collaborate with a marijuana-based meme collection, it's not going to make sense. It's going to serve to just alienate your customers. And the second is a lot of brands see NFTs as revenues themselves. So they fall into this trap of a customer will buy pay $1,000, they'll sell it to someone else, I get 10%. And that's always bound to fail. The NFT itself has to have some sort of utility. That's where things like rewards comes in, being able to redeem a specific token, having token-gated access, airdrops, things like that. Because NFTs have changed the way the ownership model works. For brands, they're no longer asking you to sign up to their loyalty program at the point of sale and then get a 10% discount on their birthdays. Now customers are actually buying into your community or your brand and they are financially invested. Meaning that for brands to not fail in this space, they really need to spend time fostering community and building utility. Adidas is a really good example. They've done really great collaborations that align with their vision of streetwear. And in their community of 60,000, they have a full-time mod team of 7. So they're really able to focus on community. And for anyone who's in the Adidas Discord, you'll see that all discussions surround things that bind Adidas customers. The love of streetwear, the love of soccer, the love of basketball, and all of the things. And Adidas is simply providing a moderated space for these customers to discuss passion. So it's a place to bring community together. And that's what brands need to focus on. And so when we work with brands, we help them set up their Discord and identify things that bind their customers together, whether it's a love of dance, love of politics, and create spaces within the community for these things to be discussed. So it's not this obvious marketing play where you're shoving products down people's throats. And for the last part of my talk, I really have no idea how long I've been speaking for. But I'm just going to give you 2 examples of what brands we've actually worked with. So one of them is called Mass Music Group. They are a events and music agency based in Sydney, Australia. And they host parties throughout the Asia Pacific. And what we did with them was we launched membership passes on the Ethereum blockchain. We basically created a Web3 sales page that allowed their 99% non-crypto native users, who a lot of whom are female, to actually just purchase memberships with their credit cards. And the membership pass was also an event ticket for all the events they host throughout the year. So we were able to generate QR codes to allow these pass holders to attend events, and it updates the metadata when this code is scanned so that in the back end, the brand knows who's attending what event. And also the holding the membership gives holders access to merchandise, discounts, future events, things like that. And also, it also gives them access to a music festival that'll be held in the metaverse that's creatively called Coachella. The last example, and this is going to be the end of my talk, we're actually subject to a very aggressive NDA, so I can't tell you the name of the brand. But to be honest, if you ask me in private, I'm most definitely going to tell you. I just don't want to publicly broadcast it. But they are a very large international fashion label, so revenues of definitely more than 20 million in the US alone. And what they've done is they want to create 999 Genesis passes, again with social login and fiat purchasing. As you can see, they are mostly geared towards women. And this Genesis pass just provides access to an exclusive Discord community for members only, where they'll get to see sneak peeks of future drops, talk about their love of fashion, handbags, things like that. They then want to launch a second digital collection, which the Genesis pass holders get early access to. And that digital collection is tied to physical goods. And when you go into the store, you're going to get a special experience by being a holder. And they've also done really meaningful collaborations with brands and projects in the same region. So this brand is in Singapore, and they've only collaborated with other Singaporean NFT projects to really solidify the identity of being a Singaporean and Singaporean proud. So those are my two examples. Those are my details there if anyone wants to get in touch. But thank you for your attention, and I'll be around for any questions.
It was amazing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Any questions? You have the chance to ask this great entrepreneur now. So take your chance. Raise your hands. Who wants to mint with David?
What is the greatest utility you see for NFTs? Is it loyalty program or maybe something else in specific?
For brands or NFTs in general?
Maybe for brands.
I think for brands, it's just about having a sense of community. I think fashion is just for me personally, fashion is an expression of style and an expression of belonging to a particular group. And so for brands, if you're able to identify why people come to your brands and create spaces where people feel like they can tie within that identity, I think that's the best utility. So all of these things like discounts, future merchandise, that's all kind of gimmicky for me. It's really just about identity and community.
Anyone else? Time for a second question?
Yeah, thank you. A really interesting talk. I was wondering, so how far along have you gone from like an agency to like a full productized service where customers can pretty much do anything on board themselves? It seems like, like you talked about strategy and stuff and what to choose. It's probably not that easy to automate or help people to find their own stuff. So yeah, how long you feel you've come along and what's something that scales and doesn't scale yet?
Yeah, so we actually started as creators. So we created our own NFT projects, and then we created software that allows project owners to upload their, all of their traits, randomly generate NFTs and launch. And as I said yesterday, majority of our users are still NFT projects. It's just sort of in our opinion that the market for NFTs as just projects, as PFP generative projects is shrinking. And there's a bigger opportunity for those users who make sense in Web3 because of the utility it provides, but have not been onboarded yet. And we just want to be one of the early providers to target those users. And in terms of your question of why we're building software as opposed to just providing services, it's just more scalable. And who doesn't want to build a unicorn?
That's a good closing word. Thanks again, David, and take the chance also to grab him. And we see us later. And thanks a lot for the great